Hello and welcome to Geek First Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the Geek First Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dylan Musk. Today I'm joined once again by Travis. Now, the Iceman, what is that related to, that nickname?
Just celebrating Top Gun that came out this week. That's a
Mm,
character in there, and Val Kilmer is named Iceman in that. I think I'm
gotcha.
just keeping it for just this week because it came out and I enjoyed and stuff. And I didn't have because we have such a broad topic. I feel like the past two times been on here like Horizon, Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
There's been like centric stuff, but this is like we're gonna be talking about a bunch of different games.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like the one, so I'm just sticking with it for now until who
I've been
knows.
watching a couple of the X-Men movies lately, so I was like,
Oh.
what, is there like some X-Men
Bobby
thing that I
Drake, yeah,
missed?
yeah, huge fan recently, but
Big character. But,
yeah.
welcome back to
Mhm.
SideQuest. Nice to have you back here. You just had some time off, right? How was that? Do you have some good times or at least productive times?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I went down to Vancouver. I went down to Surrey / Langley specifically, only for 2 days. But I saw my family because we hadn't
Nice.
seen a bunch of my dad's side had not seen Logan or Ellie yet because of
Mm.
COVID, so we'd never gone there. So that was fun. Hit up the aquarium, was there for like 5 hours, and then hell,
Nice.
I'm gonna say it for the originals. Had a hellish car ride home as far as kids getting sick is not
Oh
not
no.
not the fun thing. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice, refreshing. Nice 9 days off, and then I just booked in August. I have my 5 weeks coming off, so I have just booked that. So it's just like just gotta get through June because there's no holidays coming up. But it was good. It was
Mm.
nice this one went by a lot quicker than last vacation, and right when Sunday hit, I was like, oh god, and here we go. And plus, like we got so much stuff coming up, so no, it was a good time. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, nice. I did some camping this weekend, which it's still May, so it was like a bit cold
Hmm.
and a little bit rainy, so I felt a bit like the Iceman this weekend, but it was still a nice it was still a nice camping trip. The first good first camping trip of the year, and going again next weekend, so
Yeah,
it's that time of year. So
yeah, I'm
I didn't
excited
really
to do
play
some
any video
camping.
games over the weekend. I just was outside away from my phone even, so it was a
Hmm.
good time as well.
There you
But yeah,
go.
today we got a jam-packed episode. We're going to talk about a couple of the games we've been playing. Then we'll talk about some news things such as Death Stranding, Jedi, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel news. And then our main topic today, of course, is Summer Game Fest. We'll break down exactly what that means because that was a shit show in terms of the just naming scheme of everything the last couple of years. But
Oh
we'll
yeah.
talk about that and what we're getting into there. Just looking ahead at some of these summer gaming shows and break it all down. So it's gonna be a
Are
fun episode.
Are you calling it the Star Wars Fallen Order sequel because you don't like the name? Or is that why you're never gonna call it Jedi Survivor? It's just always gonna be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order
I mean,
sequel.
Survivor is easier to remember. I guess I just said that because that way people know what we're talking about,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah, that's a good call.
And then
Yeah.
we'd explain that when we get to it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that name is a bit less of a mouthful, though it is still maybe a bit confusing. But I think
Hmm.
it's been around enough long now that like I kind of got it
Yeah.
under wraps. But yeah. Let's do some shout outs here. Of course, join the Geek First Discord. That's a good place to be.
Hmm.
Subscribe to the SideQuest feed. Now is a great time to do that because not
Yeah.
everything's going to be concisely tucked within SideQuest weekly episodes because we're going to cover Summer Game Fest. We're going to be
Hmm.
covering the Xbox show, and those things kind of will or will not be branded SideQuest. So it's a good time to subscribe to that feed because then you can just get all that stuff, all the gaming content bundled into one. Make sure to join the Patreon where we have episodes early, ad-free, retros you can get sometimes months or even years early in certain
The
cases.
Hobbit. Still, you
Yeah,
can
The
still get
Hobbit.
the Hobbit. You right now the retrospective is not released till August, so you can still get the three
Mhm.
Hobbit the trilogy right now. Probably the longest early
Yeah,
episode we
that must
ever
have been
had.
like 2 years ago. We did that in
No, I
person,
think
I think. 3
yeah,
years ago,
no, I
4?
think it's three. I think it's I'd have to look
Wow.
back when they announced it, but yeah, I think it's quite a while. It's definitely past two. So yeah, they've been cooking for a little bit, but we
That's
finally got that
crazy.
show coming out, and maybe a game coming out too. We're gonna talk about. So
Yeah, I'm
hmm
excited to do the Lord of the Rings movies finally. So yeah,
yes,
go check out
finally.
Patreon.
Yep.
Thank you to Taylor for the thumbnails, who made
Hmm.
just a very nice comedic one today with Jeff everywhere. Thanks to Amanda, who does the music for the show. Me and Taylor are going to specifically do the Xbox Showcase predictions.
Hmm.
That's going to be next week's episode. So if anyone has any thoughts for that, you want to get that in, send that my way. And then yeah, so you Top Gun, you guys just reviewed that,
Mm-hmm.
and doing a couple newscasts this week. But what else did you got cooking on the feeds these days?
Yeah, like I'm gonna be doing a Soul Stranger Things review. I binged that all
Nice.
fucking 18 hours of it because there's no episode.
18 hours?
No, but no,
What the
I'm
heck?
lying. But there's no episode shorter than an hour 13. So
Whoa.
and the finale, they did this weird thing where it's volume one. They released 7 episodes, and in July they released two. But the finale of this season is 2.5 hours. It's pretty much just 3 episodes
Oh my
combined.
god.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
crazy. But luckily it was kind of not the greatest weather here in Kelowna,
Mm.
and we were kind of done after the trip, and I still had time off. So that's the only way I got to really binge it. So I'll be doing that. We're doing Kenobi weekly. And yeah, look out
Right.
for patrons. I apologize. I will put out the schedule, but look out for the next schedule for this week and next week. I can't really say till when we're not packed, but the next 2 weeks we're just packed with stuff as far as Obi-Wan, Miss Marvel, Strikers Review, and the Strikers Cup, the showcases, everything. And yeah, like Dylan was saying, anything gaming related, because it's our first time doing, like, it's not E3 weekend, but it still kind of is E3. Like, you have PlayStation on Thursday, you have Keeley on, so it's like, it's that kind of vibe. But anything that is going to be like gaming related, whether it's Tag Sidequest or not, will be on both feeds and stuff like that, because we usually cover those, and it's a hybrid year, but it's fun. It's just it's a good time. So yeah, just look out for, as always, we plug the social media, but honestly, it's just the best way. Unless you're subscribed to the feed, which you should, you won't miss anything. And yeah, it's a fun month. We got Jurassic World coming. I'm forgetting things. That's it. That's the best time, when you just forget stuff that's happening. So
Nice. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Let's get right into it today, talking about some of the games we've been playing. So I wanted to hear from you because last week, me and Kirkland did our thoughts on MultiVersus. You also had access to I think I called it beta all last episode. It actually is technically an alpha, but I think those words just have no meaning anymore.
No.
Like, that is not, like, an alpha is supposed to be just like an ugly thing that doesn't even have art in it, I think, in technical
That's what
terms,
I
but they just
thought,
like call
yeah.
it that. It's like a marketing term now. So
Yeah.
anyway, I messed that up last week, but anyway, you got a good chance to play that. We actually played together, and then I actually didn't get a chance to play any more since that, so I don't know if I have any new thoughts, but I wanted to hear how you thought about the game. I'm sure the fans want to know as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to seeing if this can sustain and grow and get people. I think it's stuff that people had sent in questions to you last week, that it got it got a little less fun as it went on, and not because the game style, not because of maybe people getting better. I do agree with many people that hopefully it's a matchmaking thing that will be fixed later on, because I felt I could never get a good gauge where I'd be in one match where the opponents I would just destroy and it'd be very easy, and then the next match I'm versing like Smash legend who's been playing for 50 years that's switched over to this, and it's not Smash, but just like somebody that has the mechanics so down. So but the actual game is fun. I think that's the good thing about this is what I think we've talked about in the Discord. We talked about this with S-Bubs, that seemingly is confirmed that couch co-op will be a thing when the game actually releases.
Yeah.
And I think that's more where the fun is, because like even with Smash, I love playing Smash, but I rarely play like online. Like I like playing with you guys, or I like playing what it was back in the day, like what was that thing in GameCube? I always forget it, the title, Odyssey or Subsidy or what is it? It's like
Subspace Emissary?
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So like in Smash,
That
there's
was,
always
that was on the Wii. That's why I was confused.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess GameCube had like the kind of trial. Like it didn't have a story, but it was like very minimal, like stages and
All-Star
stuff.
mode, classic
Yeah,
mode,
exactly. So at least with Smash, like I kind of get both things where, okay, when I want to play multiplayer, I'm going to wait till we're hanging out. I'm going to wait to stream. And then I got single player content. That's my only thing. And the good thing is that it's free. So I'm not worried about it in that aspect as far as, okay, I can download, play when I want. But the single player aspect might not be there, but it's tons of fun. I think it just feels like a game they poured a lot of love into. I think that we've talked about this so many times where there's been a lot of, Smash clones or Smash wannabes. And does this reach those heights? No, because Smash has been around forever, and just it has just it's just a beast of it. Like I don't think any platformer type fighter, whatever you want to call the Smash genre, I'd be very surprised if we get a game in the next 10, 20 years that gets close to the quality of that. I'd be happy about that. But, we got PlayStation All-Stars. I remember that one time when we did the stream, we had like PS Now, and there was like a similar sort of game and stuff. So anytime I've played the type of Smash archetype games, it's never really been too fun. It's like, oh, it's good for a couple rounds, and then you move on. Where this, I was having tons of fun. Yeah, I played with you. I played with Emily, and the character diversity is it's not like a massive roster right now, but all the characters play enough differently that I feel like I'm having fun. I tried almost everybody. I think there's a few characters I didn't. And I like the idea that there's some games, and I think we've talked about this with Avengers, where it's like, oh, you can earn your money in game and get these costumes, but it's like you have to be playing Avengers almost 24/7 to get that in-game currency.
Yeah.
Where this did feel rewarding, where okay, maybe I can't win, maybe I'll go on a 3-match losing streak, but I'm still getting rewarded for that. I'm still getting rewarded for having rematches. I'm getting rewarded for playing with a buddy instead of a rando. I'm getting rewarded for being in a team instead of solo. So I liked that aspect. You and I talked about that they were really pushing it as more a teams game. There's a solo option, but I think they were pushing it as a teams game. So I really like it. Like I said, I think the times I'll be more excited for is when we could play it all together in a either created lobby or a couch co-op, stuff like that. As far as like, yeah, you and me versus Taylor and Kirkland, stuff like that. Like I think that's more fun because then I kind of I just think they like who know I'm playing against online in the world. Like and I want to play the game and have some fun. I still want to be challenged, but yeah, characters are really fun. It's a fun, creativeful world. It's graphically like I'm happy with it. It's not I would feel PS5 like Xbox Series X almost generation, but I don't need it to be. Like it gets the job done and it kind of has like a fun, kooky little cute cartoony art style, which I like. And yeah, the last point too, I just feel like they poured a lot of love in, there's gonna be different costumes, there's different emotes, there's different banners, there's different when you knock people out. But like they just put I feel like and it's free, so I guess that's the thing. But it just feels like one of the more fleshed out versions of this type of game, which we haven't seen before. And I hope that if Multiverse even somehow fails, if it dies, I hope that some of the people see this, go, oh, we could do this, especially people with IP, stuff like that. Like you guys did the Xbox roster one. I know one day we'll do like an All Stars 2. I think there's enough Smash fans and enough people that kind of like that game that are interested in it, and I feel like this has a excitement around it as far as just people wanting to have fun with it. So you can do it. I think it's just always been, there's such a lower stage than Smash, we're not going to bother with it. I almost feel like people have given up on it because it's like, oh, Smash has the market, we're never going to achieve that. And I don't know how it's going to do. Like, I guess when the game launches fully, you'll be able to buy the costumes, right? Like with actual money, I imagine. Yeah. So I'm hoping.
Did
I
you
guess
fill out the feedback form that they sent? They would have sent
No.
your email.
No, I did not.
Do that for sure.
I should, yeah.
Because the main thing I highlighted when I filled that out, I actually just did it today. I kind of forgot, but then they sent me another email.
Was it in your proper email or junk email?
I think it went to in like Google. There's like the social tab
and promotions and stuff.
Yeah, whatever that one is. I think it went over there.
Okay, I'll take a look
then. The main thing I highlighted when I was filling that out was the matchmaking at one thing, but also like throughout that form, like they mention microtransactions a lot in terms of like what would you pay for, that kind of stuff. So I think that will be a big part of it. But whenever they were saying that, it's not like characters, I don't think will ever be gated behind like having to pay real money. It'll just be skins and other cosmetic things that you mentioned. So that's good. But I like what you mentioned there of just like thinking about this game and other games that have tried to replicate that Smash formula, because I feel like we've never really had one that has got a sequel. And I think that's why, look at Smash where it is today. If you go back to Smash 64, I still love it for what it is, but it is incredibly rough around the edges, and it has a small roster. Like, it was a small focused game if you look at it that way, and it still like is quite rough by even standards from like 10 years later. And obviously it's just it iterated so much over the years, and now you have like 20 years worth of iterating on that design, whereas all these other games either haven't been successful enough or didn't have the fanfare or something that they don't end up making a sequel. And I think that's where you can kind of work on those systems a lot. And I think it's great that MultiVersus is already starting in a really strong spot right here. And I think with the kind of live service model as well, hopefully it can kind of iterate along the way. We don't necessarily need a MultiVersus 2 for it to get to those heights. If there's some character that's really imbalanced or there's issues, like they'll just actively change that thing on the fly, assuming the game is pretty successful. And I really hope it is, because I want to see the Ted Lassos and like
all these rumors
Lord of the
going
Rings
around.
characters, all those weird like leaks. I want to see all that stuff. I hope we get to 30, 40 characters. That would be amazing.
And people not that they forget about this, but Warner Brothers just has like a huge bench of IP and characters. Like, I know everyone always thinks about Disney and even like Nintendo with Smash, but it's like you look at Warner Brothers, like just like alone with DC, Lord of the Rings, like and Looney Tunes, those three right there. If it was just a game of just those three brands, you could have 60 to 100 fighters. You
Yeah,
could fit like
definitely.
so it's just like they have all this other stuff. Obviously, I was bummed that Iron Giant was not in the alpha or beta, whatever,
Right.
because that's the one I'm looking really forward to. I just have some weird worry that he's gonna be like broken when we get to him. Like either he's gonna be way too OP or he's gonna suck and just be slow. I'm not sure.
I feel like just based on who the character is, like he might be very supportive, you know, like maybe he's
Yes.
not focused on doing all the damage.
He's not even
kinda
a
like
fighter
the
in the
Rain
movie.
Dog, you know, where
Yeah.
the Rain Dog is about like healing and saving your teammate and stuff. I could see him being like one of those types. So I don't know if that's your cup of tea, but I feel like that's what you should maybe expect.
Well, Wonder Woman, that was kind of half her character, and she was kind of my second main. And Superman ended up being my main because
Oh yeah, you played
Superman.
a lot more him later.
Yeah, because I talked to you about that move where when you pick him up and hit him, it's that move is just because some people, especially when they're getting harder, then I feel like I have an easier time knocking out people and smashing. That's probably just because I know it better. But man, it was sometimes hard to get some of these knockouts on people. But with Superman, because he's just so powerful based, if I can grab him and do that move, it's over. But yeah, my next one was Wonder Woman. I loved that shielding everybody attack. Like you get to be a little invulnerable. There's times where I felt like it was a little. It's supposed to give you invulnerability, and then there's times where it felt like it did not. Like it felt like it went away really quickly. So I'm not sure if that was a bug thing. I'm not sure if it's just. I'm not sure if I misunderstood how the power worked or stuff, but you know.
There was a few moves I didn't quite understand, and also in my feedback, I just mentioned Lord of the Rings and like any possible answer that could fit in. It was like, what would you pay for? I'm like, oh, Lord of the Rings skins. I would buy those. Like I just mentioned Lord of the Rings as much as possible. So hopefully, when they're sorting through the data, they see that when they're going through that.
I think
stuff,
I think that'll be requested quite a bit, especially like we're going to talk about the game a bit. You got the show coming out. Like, hopefully this is going to be like a big return of hype for Lord of the Rings. Not that it died off, but I think The Hobbit definitely chipped away a little bit. But I think people are ready to fall in love with Lord of the Rings again. So
definitely. So yeah, I guess you mentioned I was going to ask your favorite characters. Superman would probably be your top
yeah, surprise. Yeah, I'd probably go Superman, Wonder Woman, and then Shaggy and Batman are kind of tied for third. There's and it all depends on your team because, like I said before, if someone's Wonder Woman or they're Shaggy, the Wonder Woman Shaggy dynamic I had so much success in. But yeah, and Batman he played a lot better as I went on. At first, I was like, okay, I feel like he's gonna be really easy to beat up, but he has a lot of fun gadgets and stuff like that. And same thing.
That smoke.
Oh yeah. There's just some good right pairings and just little stuff. You throw the batarang, and if you can catch it in time, you get to keep it again. Like that. That's really cool things that they didn't have to put in the game, but they could. I guess the other thing I would say is like a con. I only did it twice. I did not like their free for all mode. It was very messy, and I've always joked about this that like in Smash, I'm always down for no weapons, but I love the chaos of weapons. This was just weapons galore of like a free for all, and I know that's the term, but it just felt. I wouldn't say not fun, but just kind of okay. You're gonna throw stuff around and hope for the best. So I still think the team dynamic is the best one. I think obviously maybe that's because they're stressing it so much. But
sure, that's good. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll join back on that one. And the open beta is in July, so I don't really know what the difference between open beta and a free to play game is. At that point, it's like that's just a soft launch, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sure we'll report back then, and hopefully, Iron Giant and Gandalf will be in there. But the other game that we both checked out, and just very briefly, is Mario Strikers Battle League had a, I guess, demo. They called it the kickoff, which is funny because that's what the Summer Game Fest show is called, the kickoff event. So that's a big word, I guess, in the world right now. But yeah, this demo essentially just has the tutorials in it, and then they're doing some set days where you can play online matches. So I guess this is them wanting to test their servers out and stuff. All of those days are like next weekend. So me and you haven't played any online games, and you can't even play a regular match in this kickoff event. It's just going through the tutorials, and I only did a couple of them. I just wanted to check it out for I just wanted to see how it felt. Did you do the same, or did you kind of get obsessed and go through all the tutorials? Because there's like a good 10 of them in there.
No, I didn't do all of them because I just know that I'm gonna try and jump online and try it, and then between the cup we're doing, and I know it's gonna be a fun just home game. I'm gonna be playing it lots, so that's where it's like that's gonna suck up the household. I just want to get to it to just kind of see how it felt, and what I liked about it is it felt pretty much the exact same as the old games, but update a little bit more smoother and adding things like aiming shots. So that's why I like that. It has the old sets. It feels new, and we've added like a few additions to it. And that's kind of all I want. I don't need Strikers to be reinvented from the ground up. Like I don't need that. I want to go where we kind of went in the past. It's been a long time. It's been since the Wii since we got a game. So everything I did in the little tutorial I liked, and I'm excited because I think that's obviously they're going to test the servers, but I also think that this is them in a little bit way building up hype. And it's funny, I did not feel like I knew this many Striker fans kind of existed, because I feel that there's been a lot of excitement on my timeline of people I know, but just in general of, the interaction those tweets get and stuff. So, and especially with the league or whatever, the club aspect and the online, I think this game's going to have a really fun life to itself. And I just can't wait. We're so close, and just doesn't even feel real. But yeah, it was fun. I liked what I played.
Yeah, I've exactly same spot as you are. The new stuff that they added, like even just sprinting, right? Like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
In the past games, which adds like a little dynamic where you can charge up a shot and then just like sprint out of it, to like kick the ball a bit forward and stuff like that. So I don't know. It seems like there's going to be a lot of depth, and we've already seen some other kind of new mechanics as well. So I'm excited for that. But mainly, I just wanted to see like how it feels to move around the field, and it feels great. I'm excited to get into it. And I gotta say, I feel like the budget or production value, you could say, on this felt pretty high. Like that opening cutscene I thought was pretty good. But even comparing it to Mario Golf last year, which I really loved, but that game's visuals were just really lacking. Like some of the like animation for Donkey Kong and stuff is like, Jesus, this looks like a creepy animatronic character from Scandia or something. Whereas I just felt like the general look of the characters and the visuals and stuff in this game was really clean. So I wouldn't expect anything else from Next Level Games, because they did the first two and they're a great studio. I mean, look at Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the best looking Switch games.
Oh
they
yeah,
did that
great.
obviously.
Yeah.
So it's a very skilled team. And yeah, I just cannot wait. I don't think I'll have a chance, unfortunately, to play these online demos, but at the same time, I don't really need to. Like you said, like that first weekend, it'll be kind of like Ultimate Alliance all over again, where we just play the game for like 20 hours in a weekend. So I'll get all the time I need then.
Yeah, and the hype is just ramping up because they announced those DLCs, right, as far as characters are going to be coming after the game and stuff, which is something I thought we were going to get with Super Mario Party, and that still has not happened. I thought for sure we'd be getting more boards, and there was rumors of that, so I still think it's going to happen. I just thought it would happen a lot sooner, because I feel like the game's probably soon coming on a year anniversary, imagine, right, that Super Mario Party one?
It came out in like November, or I think the end of October, so not a
okay,
year,
so maybe not. Okay, so maybe
but definitely a long time to not hear anything. You would think even like they would have said at their last direct, like in the next couple months, characters coming, and you think that's pretty easy for a game like Mario Party for them to churn that kind of stuff out. So maybe it didn't get the sales they wanted. I don't know.
Yeah, so I am excited to at least know, okay, we have some other characters coming in the future. I'm not sure if they'll be free, if you'll pay, and the good thing is if you have to pay, if they're characters.
I think they did say free in their tweet, which
cool.
Yeah, tracks. They did that with tennis. They did that with golf, and even though they're different studios, obviously big Nintendo, the company's like deciding some of those decisions. So that's good.
Awesome.
That's really my only complaint that I've said against the game, and whenever it's come up on Sidequest is 10 characters is not a lot when 8 of them are going to be in every match. Like you're gonna after 2 matches, you're gonna have seen all the characters at that point. That just seems a bit quick. But I also just feel like Daisy, like wow, they really slighted Daisy by not putting her in there. So
it's all about Rosalina nowadays,
Rosalina is pretty badass. Like I wanted to play as her. The demo, at least the tutorial I did, like you're just forced to play as Mario, but Rosalina just flying around is so badass. Like she's really fun in Mario Golf too. So I think I'll check out her. But I mean, Daisy is the sports like queen, and she just nowhere to be found. So hoping she comes in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited for that. We'll have a lot of coverage, and I think the Sidequest episode reviewing that is going to have Miyu, Taylor, and Kirkland. So we're gonna have the whole full team's worth of Sidequest members. So that'll be a lot of fun as well, because everyone's very hyped on it.
Oh yeah, no, I was just reading, trying to see what Super Mario Party did for sales and everything like that. But actually, is it Super Mario Party? No, what is this one called actually?
Super Mario Party is the one you're looking for.
Oh, Superstars. There's so many Superstars and Super
I know,
this.
It's a mess with Mario. And then they throw the new on there, and it just throws everything.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I will say, like, I think for all of their games, like the Mario Golf, like this, they have said before the game comes out, like, hey, we're going to support it with post-launch stuff, and it's going to be free. Where I don't remember that for Superstars.
No.
So I think they usually like that stuff. I kind of said this earlier, but I don't think they really base it off the sales. I think that the sales could depend how long they support it for, but I think they usually have that roadmap of like, okay, for the next 6 to 12 months, here's our general roadmap of things we're going to do to keep the game in the news cycle. But I think with Superstars, maybe they felt like it was a kind of a one and done. But I don't
Yeah, I
know,
think
it
it was
seems
all
like
just
such a great well to dip into again. Like there's so much they could do.
yeah, I think it was just potential leaks of people thinking there was a
Okay.
board or something, but that could easily be wrong. And as of December 31st, 2021, it had sold 5.43 million copies worldwide. So not too bad.
Yeah, that's it's funny. You look at that, it's like of course that's huge, but for Nintendo's standards, like maybe that's not what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
wanted necessarily, but I don't know. That's still enough, I think, to support it. But
Mhm.
anyway, let's take our first ad break, and we'll come back and talk about the news. Okay, we are back. We got 4 news topics today, and then we'll get into Summer Game Fest stuff. But first, we'll talk about this. This is one of our probably our collective favorite game of all time. Like if you take both my favorite games list of all time and yours, like this might be the single highest game in
Mhm.
Death Stranding.
I think so.
I don't know why I worded it that way, but I did. But it seems like a sequel has been potentially leaked by Norman Reedus as he talked about doing some mocap or doing some voice lines, whatever it was. But he kind of just silently said he was kind of doing some more for Death Stranding. So
Uh-huh.
who knows what that means? Whether it's, or I guess he specifically used the word sequel, didn't he?
He said
Like,
sequel, yeah,
yeah.
and that's what really started everybody buzzing. And it's funny because it's been kind of rumored, or people have been like, there's been scuttlebutt around it, but now it just seems like there's getting more. Because I remember he said he was doing more work, but then they put out the director's cut, so people were like, oh, it's clearly just that. But now when he's talking about a sequel, I don't know.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this? Because I think both me and you talked about this a lot on our review and casts afterwards. That it seems like a game that's kind of great as just a single game, not one that you're going to blow out into a series, a franchise. And I think we were both like, okay, this was really cool. We love it. A lot of weird ideas here. Can't wait to see the next game he does, like the next
Yeah.
world he creates. So where do you stand on this one right now?
I'm very torn because it reminds me a lot of when Tarantino did Django and then he did Hateful Eight, which are both like Django's, I think, my second or third. It's my third favorite, and Hateful Eight. It's still a lower tier for my Tarantino, but I thought it's great film and stuff. We did the retros and things, so always quality. But I remember when he announced like, oh, another Western, like it's not a sequel, but it's like, oh, like I want Tarantino, especially because he's always like, I'm always doing 10. I want him to do some variety, and that ended up being good. My thing is with this is I'm kind of the same way where I trust him enough that if he feels he has an idea or a story or a pitch to make a sequel, then I'm down. But from my point of view where I am right now, as far as getting some time away from the game and also just playing it, I did the director's cut. It just felt, even the director's cut, I was happy to have more, but like it was just enough more because it just feels like such a good solo effort game. Like I don't think I need much more from that world. Maybe I'll take this a different route. The world, maybe yes. Norman Reedus' character, that is what I don't know if I need anymore. I think you could tell more stories in that world of everything set up with the BBs and everything. You go to like a different part of the world, stuff like that. I think you could have some fun there, or even a different character maybe introduce. But with Sam, I just don't know what that just feels like one of those full circle kind of character stories, you know? And honestly, it's just from like a prediction standpoint, very surprised me because I thought he would be on to the next thing. I did not think he would be doing a sequel because he spent so many years doing the Metal Gear Solid sequel. So I thought, okay, do this. And there's always been rumors, oh, he's doing Silent Hill, he's doing this,
Yeah.
but maybe he is just doing this, and it will catch me off guard if this is official. I still wonder at some point, is there even more DLC or is there something like that? I wouldn't think so with the director's cut being out. So I just don't know what else Norman Reedus would be referring to as far as like a sequel. So I think there's enough evidence to point that it's happening. I don't know. It's not so much a trailer that'll sell me. I'll have to hear him talk about it and kind of hear what he envisions for a sequel. But I'll be there day one. I hope it doesn't have the Horizon effect though, where I kind of feel, oh, like I like this game enough, but maybe one was fine. Horizon's a bit different because that's a bit more of an action series, and I can see why they want sequels to that. This, and I think Death Stranding did well, but it's like the Mario Party thing where I don't think it was like huge gangbusters. Like, oh, we gotta do this. You gotta make us a sequel, Kojima. So I'm mixed on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wonder too. setting. I mean, even talking about what we would expect from like a trailer or something. That I feel like the allure of those trailers of just like, wow, what a strange world this is.
Yes.
The tone, the setting, and then the actor reveals kind of came one by one with each trailer. Like I don't know if that hype cycle would work the same for me the second time. And yeah, I
Because
wonder
you know the world now. That's the thing.
exactly,
There's
yeah,
not secret around it. Not
like
that I'm sure he'd create new stuff in it, but you know the
mhm.
base of what's happening.
Yeah, like if oh wow, Ryan Gosling's in this game, like that's cool, but like I don't think it
Oh
would have the
snap!
same effect for me as it did for the first one. But
Mhm.
yeah, I wonder about the world because the story is so based. I mean, there's a lot of layers you could look into it in terms of symbolism and whatnot, but it really was a story about specifically the United States of America and
Mhm.
where that country's at. And so, yeah, do you retread that? And I think you kind of get into some weird revisionist history stuff where the story of that game is like you're traveling from one coast to the other. And obviously, it's very pared down, but you still like go across the whole country. So now you're just going to go to some other new parts that I guess we skipped over in the past, but now they're for some reason interesting locations. So I don't know what the story would be. And gameplay wise, too, like I love what's there, and I mean I still want to go back and do the director's cut. And if anything, I think that's maybe good evidence of like, oh, here's a ton. Here's just like 10 more crazy ideas that weren't in the original game, but they just fit right in there. So
Mhm.
there's definitely more you could do with the gameplay, but I don't know if I don't know, going on that journey again, it excites me as much when I also still feel like I want to go back and play the first one some more.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I am, and I think that this one would maybe this some people might think it's a pro or con. It would maybe venture into more action of a category because that's what director's cut was. And I feel them doing that. I guess the story beat you could do is him raising this child, right, and stuff
Yeah.
like. Sorry, minor spoilers, but like or I'll say major spoilers. But it's that game what came out 3 years ago. If you're not
Yeah.
playing it now, you're probably done. And I think that's a story beat you can do. But yeah, I'm interested to see anything what Kojima's working
Hmm.
on. So
Yeah, I think the other thing that concerns me is I mean I love the PlayStation 4 generation of games and exclusives. Like it was a great time, especially going on that journey with you as we played most of those games
mm,
at the same time together. But I have felt a ton of fatigue playing some of the sequels that we've seen to those. Some examples of that would be Horizon, where the sequel just didn't change enough for me to really latch onto it in a meaningful way. I loved Spider-Man, but Miles Morales, which was kind of a half step, was just close enough that I just kind of was uninterested. And even Ghost of Tsushima, that was like, my second favorite game of 2020. I love that game so much. I love Legends, but then when they did the story DLC where you go to a new island and do the same
mm-hmm.
thing over again, I was like, this is all right, but I don't know if I really needed this. And so I mean, not to lump all those games into the same bucket because they're all third person action games that were
Yeah.
exclusive to PlayStation 4 because I think they are different enough. But I've just felt that fatigue by getting the same game or a game that's like a half step up or a 1.5 version in a way you could say for gameplay stuff. And so yeah, I guess I'm concerned that I would feel that here for a game that really is even more lowly about the mechanics and it's much more of a chill game. Now I say that there is a ton of layers to it and there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on, but I just kind of worry that if we get the same kind of experience again that I will feel that way for Death Stranding. And unfortunately that kind of takes it down for me. Like even though I look back at now at the first Horizon, I'm like less fond of it because I have this second game that's kind of just decreased my interest, and I don't want that to happen with Death Stranding. I mean, I'd still be there day one, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely. If you ask me what I want Kojima to do, would be just something else, something new, something cool, even whatever. Like, go make a movie. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
just I want to see what else your crazy mind can come up with. So,
And maybe
yeah,
too, I'd be a bit more willing to accept this game if he was working. Let's say he did a game or two, and then said, oh, "Okay, and I'm
right.
gonna doing
Come back
Death
10 years
Stranding."
later or something.
Yeah, and then it's like even if it's a direct sequel, it's like okay, he's kind of done some other things. That's again comparing it to. I always say Kojima to me is like the Nolan of the films as far as like always want to see what he does. Always about
Mm-hmm.
big spectacle. Not as trippy as Nolan's not as trippy as him, but what I always loved about Nolan is he'd do a Batman movie and then he'd do an original movie, Batman movie, and he went back
Mm-hmm.
and forth. And this is of course like an original idea for Kojima Death Stranding, but I would love that where if he goes to something else, and then the third game in his new production studio is like, okay, I want to go back to Death Stranding, and I feel like, okay, I'd be much more open to it then because I kind of got some other Kojima stuff. It's kind of like, again, my last point about a director is James Cameron, where I like James Cameron, made Terminator, Titanic, Avatar, but when he's like, I'm making 4 more Avatar movies, it's like, I would really like to see you do something other than Avatar, and that's where it's not that state, but I kind of, if Death Stranding 2 is kind of, just all right. And like you said, I don't know if even the gameplay leads to me wanting another sequel. But that's where I think you'd be plucked and you'd be put, like, I think the terrain and everything would be much different. I think that's how they would spruce it up, really, is like make it look really, really different.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that one, and maybe we'll talk about Kojima a little bit more in our next topic, but we'll leave it there for now. The next 2 news things are kind of more quicker hits, but one I wanted to shout out is Replaced, which is that 2D kind of side-scrolling pixel cyberpunky game that all of us, and specifically you, were pretty hyped about when it was shown at the Xbox showcase last year, has been delayed just to 2023. They don't say anything specific. This one is specifically, they cited the ongoing war. They don't work or live in Ukraine or Russia, but I think they're in a neighboring country. So I guess they're, there's something going on there where they're
affected some way.
Yeah, they're affected in some way. So that one's kicked out of this year. I don't know if there's too much to dig into that, but we were expecting that this year, and now it's not there. So worth shouting out. Anything to add on that one?
No, between this game and the other game that I completely forgot the title of every time. Last night, I'm just never gonna get these Blade Runner sci-fi looking detective like it's just always.
Remember Backbone, that one with the raccoon that we were talking about a few months ago? You can
yes, it's on my it's actually on my Xbox list and everything like that. I did a bunch of because I downloaded Jurassic World and then I found the sequels coming out, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get that. I randomly downloaded some NHL because I was like craving some NHL, and Backbone. It's not downloaded, but it's on my list and stuff because I always look at that. I'm like, man, once I beat Elden Ring, I'm gonna get to you because I do Elden Ring like once a night. Not once a night, once a week, and I beat that boss. Got to the castle. If you told me like, oh, don't worry, you'll know when you bump into him, and I did know, but I did like so much stuff in reverse. Like I feel like I went way, but it's all fine. But yeah, I'm whatever they need as far as hopefully I see this game. That's all that matters. So
definitely. And then the other game that got a release date finally is Lord of the Rings Gollum, which gets a release date of September 1st, the same day as the TV show drops, or maybe the day before. But anyway, the same
week.
So what do you think about that timing? That's kind of fun if that they were able to line that up.
Smart, because I imagine when they were making this game, they probably could not have predicted of timing with the show. But if everything syncs, even if this game's done and could release next month, I actually think it is smarter to release in that time frame. Because you gotta remember, I think they've said Lord of the Rings is either 8 or 9 episodes, so it's gonna be going for a while. So as long as the show's good, you're gonna you don't want the halo effect. As long as the show's good, you're gonna start building hype. And now, are people going to want to go pick up a Gollum game? I don't know. I still think, like, for me, that's more a meme game where if you get it or someone else gets it, I'll be more excited to watch someone play it, because I think there's going to be aspects of where it could be fun, but it's just like, I would have never predicted the next Lord of the Rings game we got was a Gollum game. But I'm very curious, but I also think it could be a game that comes out, gets a bunch of 5 and 6s, bombs, and it's one of these things in 10 years. We go, oh, remember when they made that Gollum game, So I'm just more curious about this game, but smart release date.
Yeah, I haven't been trying to hype this game up. For me, it's a day one. Like, I just want to see it, but I wouldn't tell someone, like, oh, put this game on your radar.
Yeah, you better pre-order it.
One game a year. Like, go buy this one. But I love that release date, with us doing the retros kind of leading into that show and the show going on. Like, I'm excited for September to be just the month of Lord of the Rings. Like, it would feel right back at home, back in 2001, whatever year it was. So I'm very excited for that. I think that's a really smart release date. And I always joke that on their Steam page, their release date was always just lurking until the time is right. Like, that's what they just put in there. And that's the right time, line it up with this TV show that's been in production for however many years. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
And then our last news topic was that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has a sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So write all that down. We got a teaser trailer and then the reveal of the title, obviously, and then they said it's coming 2023. So this was kind of leaked a couple weeks ago, and this was on me and Taylor's just news slate for that week, but there's so many other topics that we ended up just kicking it aside that leak. But look at this. A couple weeks later, we get a more official thing. But yeah, that truly is the title of the game. And yeah, coming next year, they say it's going to be continuing the journey of Cal Kestis. And then, yeah, there was like a 50-second, maybe it was like a minute something teaser trailer. I guess first thoughts from you, like, did that teaser trailer do anything for you? Because personally, as a fan of the first game, that trailer really did not do much for me.
No, I think it's more the details that they don't have in the trailer because this was Star Wars Celebration. They said stuff like it's going to be 5 years after the game, and it's like, okay. I think I think the teaser's fine. I think it's like an announcement teaser, right? If you didn't know there's a sequel, this game's coming, we have a date. And I think a big thing is because there's a lot of people on the podcast network that are like, oh man, I can't wait to get this game. Them coming out and being like, hey, it's not for last generation, for the current one. I think that's also smart to get that going right now, to get that narrative of, hey, if you want to play this, you got to start upgrading everything like that. I think what it did do is it built intrigue, and I thought they were smart in two ways. Of it doesn't give you much, but the two things are, one, you see the guy with the red lightsaber. They don't show their face, so that is a good thing. It gets a whole bunch of theories of, is that a character we know, new character, someone that's turned the dark side, and the whole Twitter verse that day, and obviously it's died down, it's only for a little bit, but is been fun as far as who's in that Bacta tank with the white hair. That's been the biggest thing of. So I think that it's a fine teaser, but I think they were smart to put a couple nuggets in there to have fans like salivate and be like, okay, what is this? Because some people think, oh, it might be a clone of Cal. It might be something else. It might be a Jedi that survived the Purge, and that's why it's called Jedi Survivor, because it's about this Jedi in the tank. So I think that that's where they did do a good job of kind of getting theory crafting going on. And you always want that with a big IP. You want people to be, even if it's a game. So the biggest thing is for me is obviously it's probably running on their best things, but there's just many screenshots that they shared, especially of Cal, where it's just like, man, he just looked like a real live action show. It didn't even look like a game, and that's great. Hate the title. Title's stupid. I just don't think it flows like Jedi. I don't know why they just didn't go Jedi Fallen Order 2. They just boom done. Dude, just Jedi Survivor is just, there's something about it I don't like. It just sounds
for me. It's like, I don't know if it's. I guess it's maybe not less Fallen Order Survivor. Okay, it's one less syllable, but to me, it's still like is less words, so it's like a bit easier to digest. I always like. It was hard for me to always differentiate. Like, okay, there's the Star Wars here. Where's the Jedi? Like, I don't know. There's a lot.
True.
Going
Yeah.
on. So for me, it's a little bit simpler, and that maybe helps a bit. But
when do you think we see this?
Like the next reveal, like official.
No,
reveal?
like in 2023. Do you think this teaser is to signify it's the first half of the year, or you think it's still probably more back half? Like the first game came out in the fall, right? It was like November-ish or something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this because, like I said, that leak was a couple weeks ago that had the logo and the title, and I don't know if it really had much else. I think that's why we cut it from our news thing, is because there wasn't really too much to it.
There's rumors that you might play as multiple characters too. That's something that I'm still kind of iffy about, because I like Cal enough that I'd rather just keep it one. But
but I mean, with the gameplay loop of like a Metroidvania game where you're going around getting upgrades to get to different areas, that's a tricky thing in a sequel where it's like, okay, well, do you start with everything you had in the first game, or are you starting out from scratch? And that's where like new characters could work well, where you could have to get some of those basic powers again to get to different areas. Unless they just, I mean, they obviously could just add a whole new slate of abilities that Cal has, and then he has all the previous ones. But that's always the weird thing. It's like, oh, now I just arbitrarily don't know how to like jump off walls or something like that. You know, in this 5 years, he just forgot how to jump or do this like double jump, whatever. I forget what the abilities you unlock in that game are, but that's kind of a weird thing. But going back to what I was saying, like just the timing of this to me is weird. Like why don't you wait and reveal this at, like, I'm sure Xbox would love to show this off because EA and Microsoft kind of have their sort of thing going on there, or Summer Game Fest. Like, it seems like a good, place to put this. So is it because like that it got leaked and they're like, okay, we want to get ahead of this, like let's get this thing together, but like this teaser also is pretty high quality, so you think that it's not something they just like baked up over a weekend? And maybe they did though. Like that's the timing of it seems really weird to me that they're doing this now when all these gaming shows are happening in the next month, and like why wouldn't you just save it for that?
I guess just because it was their own event, right? They might want to have something there because they didn't announce any movies. They announced one new show. Most of the other shows are animated, which are still bigger, but not the big things. Like, I think it's because Star Wars Celebration had like enough, but it didn't have like a huge heavy hitter. So like, well, let's just spruce this up by putting a game trailer and some details. I think that's why.
Do Do you think it could be some synergy sort of thing where they show off this here as like a story character setup, and then at one of these gaming shows is where they show gameplay because that's more of a gamer focused thing? I don't know. Do you think they think that far ahead, or is that just thinking too much over it?
I think if it is a yeah, I don't think we get gameplay because even if it's early 2023, I just don't think they're going to be like showcasing that yet. I feel like they'd wait a
Okay.
little bit more. I feel like you might honestly just get like a state of play next year and it's like tied to this. They have some partnership, or even if it's Xbox at a game showcase. So that's why to me it all depends on is this just a 2023 to them at some
Mm-hmm.
point, then who knows. But if it's an early 2023, which they did not specify, then I could see some, but I don't
Yeah.
think we see something in these next 2 weeks. I think this was just the tease to get the date, the name, and
Mm-hmm.
the kind of the talk out there.
The first game released in November. I feel like they might like that slot
Yeah.
and want to stick with that time frame. So that would, yeah, obviously be like the end of the year. So that's like already over a year away.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to me it seems like okay, if that's the case, and you're gonna be almost like a year, like that's a lot of months away. Did they just need some gaming thing to show at Star Wars Celebration, and this was the only thing that was
Could be.
like did they show anything else like
Nope.
mobile games or something? Like it also
there
seems
could have
kinda
been a
weird to me that,
mobile
like, they just
game.
do show off one game,
Yeah.
but and
There
it's like
could
really
have.
far away. I don't know. It seems weird
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, there could have been. I might miss that. But as far as any of those rumored ones of like Ubisoft or Knights of the Republic, nothing like that. So.
Do you think now this is getting maybe too deep into the hypothetics, but is the character of Cal Kestis like I feel like there's been rumors that he pops up in a TV show or a movie, or I mean the movies are kind of on ice.
Yep.
I think right now, but do you think that's a thing where they're trying to get his name out there more, like keep him in the news cycle because he's going to pop up in a show or something?
I think so.
'Cause they
This
announced
new.
like a fuck ton of stuff. It seems like over the weekend. I came back when I finally got internet connection. I was like, man, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff going on. I
Yeah,
didn't
they're
know.
big. They're big into Disney Plus right now. I think with this game it takes place a year after what Obi-Wan is right now in the
Okay.
timeline. So it's like the Obi-Wan show, and then in continuity, this game would happen. Do they have any connection? They haven't said that, but I think with them getting Cal closer and closer to some of these characters, I think it's just inevitable. Also because the guy is like a real life, really good actor. Like it's just like it's
Mm,
kind of just very simple, like they did that Mandalorian where an actress that's very good voiced this character in Clone Wars and then brought her in live action. So
right.
I think it will be time. And if it does, there's these rumors that Taika's movie, that Kathleen Kennedy has said that they're hoping for December 2023. If all lines up and that does happen, that would work pretty well as far as you get this game in November, Star Wars movie in December, lots of synergy going on. So, but yeah, I think you'll see him. I think they want him around, and sure, why not? I'm down to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if I had to predict, I would say that we won't see this game again. I guess in these next couple weeks, I don't know. Maybe it does make sense that weird crackpot theory I was coming up with. But at the same time, if it is November of next year, like that's so far away. Like I don't know what you're gonna get people hyped up on this level that they're not gonna play for a long time. It seems
The
like maybe too soon.
the only thing you can get people hyped on is characters or lore, is showing some sort of character like oh, you're fighting Darth Maul in the scene, and that was my theory for who that person was in the cloak, because in this trailer they kind of show that one alien that kind of looks like a mobster, and in this era right now in Star Wars, this is when Darth Maul is like doing his like mobster crime stuff. So
Okay.
that'd be kind of a good way to connect, and that's why they have that person cloaked, is because I like, who knows what role he would play, but I think most people would be pretty excited. Oh my god, my
Whoa.
voice turned to a robot there. But I think people would be pretty jazzed if you knew you were getting a Darth Maul boss battle. I think there's tons of like potential there. So I think the next time, I think if you were to ask me, I actually don't think we see this again this year. But if we were, it would be the Video Game Awards. I think that was when we'd
Sure.
see it next. So
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about this necessarily, but I'm really excited for this game. I really liked parts of the first game, and I think it's just like with the iteration process of having a lot of that stuff out of the way in terms of how the game feels, what it plays like, the kind of level structure. Like there was a couple levels specifically in that first game that to me were some of the best stuff I played in that year. But then there was also other areas that were like super undercooked and some really shitty boss fights and stuff like that. So it was just a very mixed experience. But I think even as soon as I finish that game, I'm like, okay, the sequel though, I feel like is going to clean up those rough edges. It'll have a lot more of the framework out of the way and just like focus on making some really good levels and better boss fights. So I'm really excited for this game. I can wait until that November of next year, but I got to say, I think this is definitely going to be like a day one for me. Just based off what I played from the first one, even if that was a mixed experience.
I'm excited for it. I liked the first one enough. I had a much harder experience as far as lots of glitches and stuff. You can go back to my review that me and Taylor did, where one boss battle where you're on a dragon was a terrible, terrible experience for myself. But I'm still excited for it. Like I said, I like the first one enough, but it's honestly probably maybe not last, but second last as far as the Star Wars games come up, because the Quantic Dreams game, who knows if that's going to happen, because it just sounds like they always have problems there in general, whether it's the development or just the people that work there. Amy Hennig last month got that game announced. I'm excited that she's getting another crack at Star Wars. The Ubisoft game, I know what the game's gonna be, but I still want to see it. I still like the idea of, okay, let's see like what a Ubisoft skinned Star Wars game is, and then of course like all of that is way, way down below Knights of Old Republic, and they luckily did say with Knights of Old Republic, and I don't know if it's going to be, and maybe we'll talk about it in a second, they did say they're going to have some news in the upcoming months. So that just kind of, it's very much like when the Batman was coming out, where it just sucks up all my excitement for anything else. That's KOTOR, where it's like, yeah, all these Star Wars games are great, but I'm focused on this one right here. Like, this is all I care about. But I predict it will be as good, if not better, than Fallen Order, at least, because like you said, they got a template there now. So
yeah, and I think that how buggy the game was a big topic of debate. So I'm sure they're probably gonna hopefully at least wait until it's a bit more fixed up before they release the sequel.
And that's why I'm happy it's just on the current gen consoles too. Cut that middleman out, So
definitely. All right, Travis, let's take our second ad break and we'll get into this Summer Game Fest stuff. All right, we are back. So there's a couple things we could dive into. So at the time of recording this, we know that in 3 days, PlayStation is doing their State of Play, which I would assume is going to be the only thing they do until like September or so, because they've been doing big September shows every year. Yeah. So maybe we'll just very quickly go through PlayStation, because I don't know if we want to go too deep on the speculation when we're going to have their answers to these questions in just a few days. And then me and Taylor are going to kind of break down what was shown at that State of Play, if there was some good stuff there, which they said it's 30 minutes long. So that's pretty long for a State of Play. Most of them are 20 minutes-ish, I want to say. So this is going to be a beefier one for them. But I think for me, just starting off with one kind of prediction here, is I think Stray is the cat cyberpunk game. Where you're kind of stealthing around as a cat. They've always said that, or for the last few months, they've been saying this is going to be summer of 2022. And this is, PlayStation exclusive, and it's also on PC at launch, I think. And then I actually don't know if it's PS4 and PS5 or just PS5. But anyway, they've promoted that one a few times. It looks like a good big summer release. And so I think, to me, that will probably maybe be like the big thing. Well, there could be one other potential game that would be bigger, I guess. A couple games that could be bigger, but I think that will be a big thing they try to highlight as like, okay, coming soon, this next game to get hyped for. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if it's real, because I've had it shared with me that there's like a rundown going around of what's at this, and Stray is on that. And I'm sending you that right now. I won't say it all for the listeners, so they don't have to be spoiled or anything like that. But Stray's on that, and this one seems like a realistic one. The one that keeps popping up is people just keep bringing up, when's the new Final Fantasy going to be like officially brought up? Yeah. Somebody like, I like Final Fantasy back in the day. I have to play the 7 remake. Like, I'm so far behind. I'm not in that community anymore, but that's all I see anytime a State of Play comes up, is like, when's this happening? So it's funny that this rundown may or may not have that. So it's just like, when is that happening? But yeah,
Stray, sorry, are you talking about Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy Remake Part 2?
16 is what people have been. Yeah, who knows what that remake is? But yeah, like, yeah, you said that. I saw it from the leak. For other things, and this is where I have to, it's kind of blending of the two. But if there is referring back to the old topic, if there is a Death Stranding 2, whatever Kojima's doing, do you think they are fine with that being shown at Summer Games Fest instead of a State of Play? Because that to me is, we are talking before, Kojima and Keighley, they're very close.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I think Kojima would want to, do that with his buddy with his buddy
Okay.
Jeff Keighley.
Then that's the only one that I would say like a big one that you could see in Summer Games Fest and not here. But I think that, like we talked about, this is kind of their mini E3 presentation. Half an hour is a good chunk. You can show off a lot. You can show off some surprises, things like that. So I'm expecting a few things we didn't know. I'm curious if, because the other one that always comes up is God of War. I am with many people that I still don't think it's going to happen this year. I know that people are thinking
So
it might.
but do you think they show it here?
No, and that's what I'm saying. No, I don't think they are, and I don't. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what they do, because we talked about this a couple of casts ago where they're a bit quieter. So I think they're going to focus on a lot of partnerships, maybe a few surprises here or there. I think, like you said, Shrey, and maybe if they were to show God of War, then I'd feel a lot more confident it's coming out. But I don't think they're going to show it because I don't feel confident about it. So.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was the only one I would bring up was Death Stranding, was just because I feel like, or whatever, the Kojima project, that's the other elf in the room. But I'm completely aligned with you that I think they would let him do the Keighley show. And I honestly, like, when we get to that, I think if the Kojima game is there, that would be the one to end it. Even though I don't know if it was Death Stranding 2, if that would, like, bring the hype as, like, say, Elden Ring last year, you know?
Yeah, I Death Stranding, guess, would get people talking. It was definitely a divisive game when it launched in terms of the hype level.
Yeah, like it's not like, even we talk about like the sales weren't a knockout, but it's like if everybody loved it, I still talked to or had enough people be like, yeah, that game's not for me, you know. And that's where it's like I don't know if that's a show ender, but I feel like because him and Kojima are friends, he would feel it's a show ender. Because remember we had that 15 or 10-minute segment one time with him and Kojima just talking Skype and about all these things, just. And I love Kojima, but it's just like I don't know. And but again, if it's Death Stranding 2, I guess we're also assuming that is just PlayStation exclusive again, right? I don't think he would just do it would be one and then on Xbox. So, but yeah, I think that's about it I have for PlayStation.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll see something Final Fantasy. I don't know if that is 16 or remake part 2, 3, whatever you want to call it, because they already had like some DLC chunk to that mess of a game. I mean, that game's the development probably needs more time to cook based on when it released and when that DLC released, but I think we could see an update on 16. I don't think I foresee that one releasing this year, but I could see them starting to get more hyped up about it and show off more of it. I don't know if I'm going to double down on gameplay, but I think we could see more of it, maybe another trailer. Looking at some other things, I feel like Street Fighter 6, I've also seen this being rumored, and then also may or may not be on the list that you just sent me.
Yeah.
But I think Street Fighter is one that they're going to be promoting a lot. PlayStation's kind of always been about the fighting games, and they also bought Evo, the tournament series, the fighting game tournament series last year, I think it was. So they definitely care about that sort of thing. So I definitely see like a big reveal for Street Fighter 6 happening. Little Devil Inside, I think that's kind of that indie game we've seen a couple times now. I think that's probably going to come out this year, and I think they'll show it there for sure. And then, even for Spoken, like I don't know if they need to show that here. If they do their September direct, or not direct, state of play that they normally do, I think that's probably a better time to show off that game one last time. But I mean, maybe they just don't want you to forget about it, so they show it again and again and again. I don't know.
And that one I don't mind saying that was on this rumored rundown list, and that was not the only one, but I saw I was like, that makes me call question to that, because I feel like you don't want to get in the situation where you're showing it over and over and over. And I think it's like, okay, if it's hitting September, wait, like you just showed it the last state of play, wait a little bit, get closer, let that hype build. It felt like, again, it ended up being a great game, but because of delays and everything, like I remember we saw, actually take that back. I was going to go Deathloop, but even then Deathloop had the hype. The game that really, really suffered from delays and suffered from seeing again and again was that Far Cry game with Giancarlo Esposito. Because remember, every showcase, whether it's E3 or Xbox, we were always seeing this Far Cry game. And I feel like people were just over it by the time that game came out. And I don't even know how that game did come out, but I don't even know how it played. I heard like no buzz around it.
I bet the sales for it were absolutely insane, though.
Yeah, because Far Cry has like a good name, but I just remember every time that trailer coming on and be like, okay, we don't need more. And that's the same thing with Forspoken. I don't think we need anything more until we're closer to release.
Yeah. I can't get a quick answer on Far Cry 6, but I don't know. I think it was probably a lot. And then I'm looking at your list that you sent me, and I had a couple of these other things maybe to mention in just the Summer Game Fest sequence, so maybe I'll leave those things for there.
Sure.
But yeah, I think there definitely would probably be a couple of new surprises and whatnot. But without going too deep in that leak you sent me, I think this will be
Potential.
a decent show, but I don't think it'll be one that'll blow the roof off by any means. But I still think it'll be solid. I mean, 30 minutes is a lot of time too, so there
Yeah.
could be some surprises in there, or maybe just like 10 minutes that is one game that they do like some big deep dive on. Although they have been doing more of those side state of plays where you focus on one game, so I don't know if they really want to do that in a more general one. But
Well, and
anyway.
I don't have specifics for Far Cry yet, but it was one of the top headlines was Far Cry 6 behind brand's best year ever. So I think they were
There you go.
happy with it and everything like that. So
Yeah. So that worked for them. All the marketing budget worked out.
yeah, I'm happy. I had to see all those trailers again and again and
Mhm.
again.
Let's talk a little bit about Nintendo because they haven't announced a direct yet, but I think it's inevitable. They've always have their June one, and yeah, I mean I think this will happen. And I mean they've been announcing their things so late in the last couple of years that I think this one will at least give you like a week or two of notice. I guess we're already at 2 weeks notice, so probably a week of notice. But I think you'll see it probably probably the week after this other stuff that we're talking about, like probably in that June 13th to 17th slot, like somewhere in there. That seems to be what they like to do. And I mean, obviously it's a bit different, although E3 kind of tying everything together, but I still think we'll get Nintendo Direct. I honestly think this one, I think I'm going to go in with pretty low expectations. I feel like, I mean, the one obviously big thing is Breath of the Wild. You're not going to see that here. They're going to save that until like it's ready to go and they have a release date, which I don't think they have at the moment.
Nope.
So I think this one will more just be reminding you of all the things that they already have coming up, which is a lot. Like they have Splatoon 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Live Alive, Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. The new Pokemon games are weird because usually Pokemon does their own direct.
Yeah.
But those are all things. Bayonetta 3 we don't have a release date for. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp got delayed because of the ongoing war as well, and that still doesn't have a release date. Mario Rabbids, we don't know what's going on there. I think it was just rumored to be belayed. I don't know if that was ever
Yeah,
actually
they better not be
official, right?
delayed. That's on my draft
Yeah.
list. I don't want to join Dylan here with my whole roster being delayed, you know.
Yeah,
So.
well, I mean, that's why like Bayonetta 3, if it gets delayed at this point, I don't even care. I'm dead in the water when it comes to our draft, so like I don't care anymore. Delay it all. It doesn't make a difference to my list. So those are all kind of things that we know are happening, and I think most of those they've said are coming out this year. A lot of those have release dates anyway. So I think it'll kind of just be reminding you of those things. You'll get some like new Mario Kart courses, like it'll have the next batch of those. I don't think maybe they'll have any strikers like DLC characters.
I bet they'll have like a
right?
two. I actually could.
Maybe.
Probably not, but I think it would definitely be in the showcase just to remind you, hey, go buy this game. Like even if it's like 30 seconds to a minute of it's out now, even if it does give just a small tease of who could be next, I could see something Strikers related in this.
Yeah. I also foresee some Zelda port stuff. We've seen like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess haven't been brought to the Switch yet. I think it's just a matter of time, and that's a good thing to hold over the Zelda fans until Breath of the Wild 2. And I don't know if that's a pack of the two of them. It's probably just their own games. Maybe you can get them as a 2-pack. Maybe you can get it as a 3-pack with Skyward Sword, which is already on the console. I don't know why. They'd probably get more money selling them individually at full price. But I think that's maybe a big hype thing. And maybe my one question for you would be Metroid. Do you think we get any of this Metroid Prime 4 or the Metroid Prime trilogy that we've heard about? Do you think we see either of those things mentioned here? It's been a long time since
I think
they announced that.
The trilogy, I have more stock in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, of course, at some point we will get that game, but
Yeah.
I still think we're a little far off. I still would almost have a bit more expectations for this than you would, because I feel like the last few E3s, and this is not E3, but it would be E3. You're right, they like to go last, but I feel like they've just had some really banger conferences or directs, whatever it is. So I feel like we could get a surprise or two, and I think Metroid Trilogy would be one of those where it's like, okay, a meeting in the middle. It's not the new game, but it's something redone and for the fans, and maybe they're only going to sell it for like 4 weeks and then they never sell it again, like the Mario trilogy. But yeah, I think most of the games you said like hit a nail on the head. I'm trying to think of, the hype pick. I want some Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4. That's the real hype, but I don't know if that's happening. Probably not.
I don't think so. Not yet, at
Well,
least.
no, yeah, it will one day. We'll get it. I'm just happy we got the
Sold
3.
like 1 million copies. It's not bad.
Yeah, just 1 million.
Yeah, I think just over 1 million.
That's pretty bad in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not great.
They just got to port that to the other consoles and just get some
Yeah.
money and everything. But no, I think you were on the mark too. Again, not to repeat, but a lot of those dates I could see, like Bayonetta and stuff, like actually being dated. I'm
I
just
guess
trying
that's
to
where I'm at. Like they already have so much coming
Yes.
out over the summer and in the fall that I mean I guess they still haven't technically like replaced that what most people thought was the Breath of the Wild 2 slot of like that big November game. But then you
Mm.
got like the new generation of Pokemon. So it's like
Mhm.
you are covered there. So that's
They're
where
fine.
yeah, I don't know if they like want to just overpopulate. We know that Nintendo does this sometimes where they have stuff ready to go and they just hold on to it. That's been the rumor with Metroid Prime Trilogy is that it's done and they're just waiting until probably closer to Metroid Prime 4. But I
Mm.
also think like it makes sense if Metroid Prime 4 is next year and they did Metroid Dread, just last November or October I guess is when it came out. Like that now's a good time to do that trilogy, kind of have like 3 straight years of Metroid content. So
Is Prime
that
4
could be
next
good.
year? Is Prime 4 next year?
Well, I mean, when was that? When did they say Metroid? I'm gonna try and find this real quick. When they said like they're restarting it.
I feel like it was
Um,
after 2018 because I thought 2018 is when the game first got we got that trailer for it. Because I remember I was at
Yeah.
work in my shed, I was watching it, I was sweating, and I was watching this great E3.
In early 2019 is when
Yeah.
they said that they're restarting. I guess you could say, which like that's a long time ago now. Like that, like next year that will have been. This is my
4
quick math on
years.
yeah, like four
Yep.
depending like almost 5 years if you look at it coming out in the end of the year. Like that is a long time for I feel like a Nintendo development for one of their non Mario or Zeldas. Like that seems like a very long time. Usually their games don't
Mhm.
take that long. Now, obviously this game's had a lot of issues, but I don't know. I still think like yeah, that seems like it totally possible next year for them to have Metroid. Like what else do
Yeah.
they have cooking for huge games? Like I know obviously leaving Zelda aside, like they need other stuff to fill out that calendar year and that would
Donkey
make
Kong,
sense.
baby. We need a new Donkey Kong, you know?
What's going on with they've always I don't know. I feel bad for Donkey Kong. It's been too long.
It's
I want a new
Donkey Kong will
game.
happen because that Mario movie is gonna come out. It's gonna be big. Donkey Kong
Right.
is in that with Seth Rogen. I'm not saying that's gonna be direct to the movie, but I think you will see Donkey Kong, and that's like look at Strikers. We didn't hear a single peep about that game until they revealed it. Right? Nintendo is really good sometimes. Like sometimes, yeah, a bunch of stuff comes up and everything's gone, but then there's sometimes they just hit you with, man, how did this not get out? Or maybe
Yeah.
some insiders knew and they didn't say anything. So that's where it's like I think next year, even though it's not the Metroid games, there could be stuff like a Donkey Kong game that we have no idea about, and then boom, it's coming out. Here you go, 6 months from 2023. Like okay, so and I don't think they gotta worry too because they've proven there's been quarters where they got no games whatsoever, and the Switch is just selling like hotcakes, right? So I think they're fine to kind of be in cruise control and just pump out these games that are for different audiences.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess I also with that list of things still to come out, like they've already had a great year. They released a huge open world Pokemon game. They released Triangle Strategy, the Kirby, Mario Strikers. Like, there's been a shit ton of things. Like Mario, Nintendo Switch Sports just came out too. Like they've already had such a huge year. They don't need more. And I know they don't necessarily think that.
And
way.
the Mario Kart DLC too. Like they got a good year
Huge
already.
year. So yeah, let's move into Summer Game Fest specifically. Now, in the last couple of years, it's been very messy. Where like Summer Game Fest doesn't mean one thing. It's like sometimes Jeff's on a Skype call with some guy, and they're like talking about some game.
Look at these remote controllers. Remember he did that with the was it PlayStation or Xbox, whichever one. It was like, look, it's the first look at the PS5 controllers. Even that Netflix Geek Week thing is apparently like a Summer Games Fest. It's just if you see Jeff, it's a Summer Games Fest event.
But yeah, I think what we wanted to do here is specifically look at the kickoff event, which is that first showcase, which last year was like a banging show, and that's kind of now on par, I would say, with Game Awards in terms of announcements, in terms of the caliber of stuff that he wants to put there. Now, I think this will be the indicator of that. If like 2 years in a row, it's these huge announcements and like one showcase. Because the year before there was stuff as well, but it was more scattered and it was harder to follow. Whereas I think last year it was concise. Here's one show where if you want, here's like an extra. Here's the E3 conference essentially that doesn't have one publisher. It's just anyone who wants to announce stuff, come talk to me. We'll put it in this show, edit it together in a good way and all that. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Yeah, let's just kind of go back and forth picking games, and we can talk about them. Do you want to start by just pick something for us?
Yeah, yeah, because it's tough because yeah, we talked about earlier about like Death Stranding, God of War. I don't think God of War is here, and that's where it's for the big games. It's like what could be the closer and stuff like that. And I think I agree with you that last year, yeah, obviously was a banger. I think that we talked about before video game awards. Each year went back and forth between like, oh, really good show to a minute show. I think this show has the benefit of not the awards because the awards I think sometimes get. I like the awards, but we've already talked about that before, where it's like they kind of are focusing a bit more on the actual announcement guest and everything like
Yeah.
that. So I'm looking at your list here and everything, and God, I don't want Avatar. Like Avatar could be there. I really don't want that to be around.
Do you think it will? Do you expect that one there?
I think we're definitely seeing this few days or this week and everything like that. But I'll throw this out just because again, I'm being biased. It's what I'm excited for, but I do think we're gonna see something more of Kotar here. I actually do think so because
Really? Okay.
I don't think it's a mistake that the developers are like, we're gonna have some exciting things to share in the next few months. And now what does that exactly mean? I don't know, because I remember when they announced it, they did that really like, hey, don't get excited now. Like this game's still pretty far away, but that's maybe just a safe thing, but I could see an update there because the good thing is like Kotar, yeah, it is going to be the PlayStation timed exclusive, but it will eventually come to Xbox and it is going to be on PC and stuff like that.
Right.
So I feel like it's not as bad. So I think we could see that there because it's, I don't know what his big smoking gun would be because I feel like all that stuff has been delayed. Like you talked about Zelda. I don't think God of War would be there. I don't know what would be that big thing to really sell it, but maybe it's just like a bunch of cool games coming this year, updates and things like that. But I think Kotar will see something of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess for me, I didn't. I just think that one seems too soon for me.
I
Based
think
on
so too. Yeah.
last time we saw it. So would you think it would be more of like a teaser trailer then, or do you think
Yeah.
or do you see that more as like maybe he does let's say an interview discussion with the devs later on one of those Skype call streams where he talks to them about like, what's your vision here? What are your just whatever, talking for 30 minutes about the game.
Well, and that could be a Summer Games Fest event. I could see that more likely if, they talk about, we already talked before, like, what's the combat going to be? How much of the original game are you keeping as far as characters, this and that? So I don't know if that's the place there, but what you could do is you get a cool 30, 45-second teaser trailer, some cinematics, and then this summer, like, remember what they did with Midnight Suns?
June 20th for more, yeah.
You remember what they did with Midnight Suns of, hey, they announced this game, and then right away it's like, in 3 weeks, we're doing a gameplay demo, I'm going to tell you about the game. And that was so cool, and I would love it if they did that again with Kotor. Now, I can't remember Midnight Suns, when did that, was that a Keighley event when that was revealed? I can't remember.
I believe that was the kickoff event last year that showed it off for the first time.
So I would love them to just copy that formula with this if there's not much, because I think people are still dying. Like, start talking about the combat system. Is it turn-based or not? Okay, start putting in those seeds of things that people might get disappointed for or excited for, so you can just kind of move along. Start talking about, maybe not a date, but a release window, or like you're hoping to bring this next year, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and good segue there. Let's talk about Midnight Suns. To me, this is maybe the thing I'm most anticipated for because I feel like this is almost like guaranteed to show up here.
I think so.
Because I believe when they've delayed the game, or I don't know if it actually got delayed, but
it got delayed.
Right?
Yeah, it did by quarter. It was they just said like later. Like I think right now the idea is, I thought it was spring, but summer to like late summer is maybe that.
And I also feel like it's been like a very long time since we've seen it because you're right. They had that kind of blowout where they showed off the game, then they showed it a couple more times. They had that gameplay thing, and I think that gameplay showcase was like in September, which is. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but that's like, okay, that's quite a while ago now. So I think they're ready. And they also, I saw recently, there was a article either just asking them about it or they were just talking about it in a tweet. I'm not sure what it was. But they mentioned that, based off feedback that people had feelings after seeing the gameplay stuff, and they've kind of changed some things around. So I think this will... I don't know. I take that.
They got rid of those cards.
I don't know if they'd go that drastic.
Yeah,
but
no, I don't think so.
I'm curious what that means, of course, and I think that'll be maybe the big thing they highlight here. I don't know if there's any new characters that we haven't seen, like maybe a villain or something. But I think in terms of the main cast, I think we've probably seen like the whole roster of like the base game.
Mhm.
I don't know if maybe they're hiding some, but I think it seems like they kind of want like everyone on the poster. So I don't know about that, but I think we'll see, some more gameplay. I think we'll get that release date and I'm hoping for a July or August date because June there's some big releases. There's a couple things in July, but for me personally, there's not too much over the summer currently announced that has like
August,
release dates
yeah.
that I'm looking forward to. So I think a nice August date would be pretty cool.
August would be great. That's my
Mhm.
time off, so I'd love that.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that. I don't have much more to say. That I think they have a connection there. I think you will get a date here and a bigger trailer. It's kind of the almost like we're very close, kind of very similar to what happens with Guardians and Square Enix, where that game kind of not came out of nowhere. There's some rumblings, but came and then it's right away. I was like, oh, here's the date. I think it's gonna go similar because I feel like they were smart to go quiet after they delayed it. They were talking a lot about it. That date got pulled. Okay, be quiet until you're ready to go. Because if they would have
Mhm.
kept talking about it, then you kind of lose it. And yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I want to throw this one out here.
Mhm.
Here's another one I don't think will happen, but it's just a wild card. It's what people are talking about. But again, I don't think it will be. Do you think there's any chance you see anything Grand Theft Auto 6 related here?
Mm, no,
I don't
I have
either.
like I just like don't even think that game exists anymore. Like I know that obviously I do, but I just like I'm not holding my breath for that one anymore. I don't know when we see it. It's probably in development. I would hope it's been in
Yeah.
development for a few years at least. And that I mean that would be you're talking about like what is that one big pop? That
Mhm.
would be the thing that would steal the show for sure. I mean it could be possible. That game came out so fucking long ago now, GTA
Yeah.
5. Obviously they keep developing
It's
it,
definitely
but
gonna happen. It's the same because
yeah.
this is very similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like everyone's like, "Oh, we hear nothing, we hear nothing," and then Rockstar is pretty good. They're kind of like what unfortunately didn't happen with Starfield is they kind of had like Bethesda had that method of when the game's ready, we're gonna
Mhm.
tell you, and then we're gonna pump you with promotion.
Yep.
GTA is the same way as far as
Right.
my only difference is that's where I think it would be a big get for Keighley, whether it's now or in the futures. They've always kind of done their own thing, Grand Theft Auto. Like they don't tie themselves to people. Like they've done.
Yeah.
I feel like this past few years, the most they've done exclusive with people as far as like working with PlayStation. But as far as those reveals, it's
But
kind
they've
of just
still
like
like even appeared on Game Pass. Like GTA 5 kind of pops
yes,
on and off of Game Pass, so they're there too. But I think that's why like the kickoff or Summer Game Fest is great because it doesn't have that umbrella, like publisher name on it. It's
hmm
just a smorgasbord, and I think that's actually a perfect place where they would want to show it off too, or they know if they close or start the show that that's all people are going to be talking about. But at the same time, like yeah, they could just do their own trailer one day, and that trailer would be
oh, it
trending on
blows
Twitter
up.
for like 2 weeks
Yeah,
straight. So like
100%.
they don't
Yeah.
need to either.
Yeah, and no, I don't think it's happening here, but just today and this weekend when I was looking at articles and people like thinking like what you could see,
Hmm.
I saw it pop up a lot, and I just thought it was okay,
Yeah.
wishful thinking, but I'd love to be surprised. And what I mean by Grand Theft Autos, I don't mean like just like a logo and like some music. Like that to me doesn't count. It's like we know the game is being made. You're gonna make a sequel to the biggest selling game of
I
all
think
time.
the big reveal is the city, right? Like
Yeah,
where you're at.
city
Yeah.
characters. Is it a one-player game again? Is it multiplayer again? So, but yeah, I just thought I would shout that out, but I don't think it's happening.
That's a good show. I mean, that would be cool. It's just like it's hard to a risky one to hold your breath for. You're gonna be
Oh yeah.
like a Skyrim fan who's just like suffocating at this point. But let's take our last ad break out. We'll come back and then talk about the rest of this stuff. Okay, we are back, and I want to talk about this a little bit. So this may or may not, I'm just going to say, has show up in that leak that you recently sent.
Mm,
But Resident Evil, I feel like it's been a little bit quiet here,
yeah.
and they've been on a hot streak the last few years of
Oh yeah.
mixture of new games and remakes and like multiplayer stuff, where it feels like they're constantly in the news cycle. And I think it's time for Resident Evil to pop up again. In two ways, I think we might see it here. At least one of these two ways, I feel almost certain that we're going to see it like within this next month worth of showcases and whatnot. One would be Resident Evil 8 DLC, which they've confirmed is happening. That game came out in I think it was May of last year, so that's like almost a year now. I think it's a good time for them to like. I think just an October release date would be perfect for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general with the horror vibes. So I would love to see that. Or Resident Evil 4 remake, which is the next one that we've heard so many rumors of that it feels like it's almost been
Yeah.
confirmed at this point. I think that's maybe ready to get shown off too. So one of those two. Do you agree with me that we'll see one of the two? And if you do, is there one that the scales are balancing towards in terms of what you think is maybe higher chance of seeing?
I think, like you said, four has been talked about so much. Those other games were critically success, sold a lot. The other thing that's happening around the same time is Netflix, their Resident Evil live action shows coming out as
Right.
well. So it's kind of like the Gollum Lord of the Rings thing, where it's like you'll have hopefully some hype building for Resident Evil because that trailer
Mhm.
actually looks really good. So yeah, I see it here, and yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with all that stuff. That whether it's here, PlayStation, and Xbox, you'll see it because they have been
Mhm.
quiet for a while, and maybe Village wasn't the same success 7 was, but it still was, I think, pretty well received and sold well. I think it actually outsold 7, so that's
I think
good for
it
them.
definitely did. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just took over the internet with Lady Dimitrescu. She
Oh
was all
yeah.
over the place.
And
But
like
yeah,
at the end
I
of the
really
day,
love that game. Like it was great. It just snuck into my top 10 last year, and I'm really looking forward to DLC, both story wise and just give me more levels, more weird characters. I want to see them do more with that specific setting.
yeah, I'm just waiting for that to come on Games Pass here. I'm gonna
I
play it
think
at
it's
some
inevitable.
point,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's gonna happen. So
maybe when the DLC drops, that's like a good time to do that kind of thing.
mhm.
Not that the DLC would be on Game Pass, but at least get into the base game for free. Check that out.
I wanted to
Um,
ask you
mhm.
if, because I was just looking at the publishers and they say they got 30 publishers for, this event. And there's two ones I want to show. One that's quick. The Warner Brother games, I just think you're going to get more trailer and showcase for Gotham Knights. I think what I'd
Yeah.
like is like a sexy kind of show off some villains trailer. I think that'd be fun because they showed off Freeze and they showed off the Court of Owls, but they haven't really showed off to me too many of those big, like heavy hitters you could have.
Okay.
So I think you could do that. And then the other thing is, they have the PlayStation logo. Other than Kojima, is there anything PlayStation you could see in this and not in the state of play? Because I feel like that's the only thing I
Hmm.
really see there. But they have it in their list of 30. They got Annapurna, 2K, Activision, like all the people you're expecting, Digital Devolver, Capcom, like Xbox as well. They do have
Mhm.
Xbox. So like Xbox, actually, answer PlayStation because I got to follow up with Xbox.
That's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. I just kind of figured that all of PlayStation stuff would be here.
Hmm.
Um,
They say they're there, so
hmm.
unless they're just falsely advertising, but
Yeah, I wonder what that could be. Like, I could see them doubling up on a certain game. Like, I think a Street Fighter is one, or a Final
mhm.
Fantasy is one where you could see it appear at both conferences or at both shows in different ways. And other than that, I mean, if Resident Evil's not exclusive, but I feel like PlayStation's definitely shown those games off before. Um, I'd have to think about that some more because I don't really know if there's one that speaks out to me other than like you mentioned like KOTOR. Like that would be something that I would definitely foresee like going
Yeah.
to Game Fest instead of PlayStation. I mean, they could also have it there, but I think you kind of wait, and that could be your big pop for Summer Game Fest to get to the top of the Twitter spheres and all that.
So the other thing I could ask, so they say Xbox. Xbox has their show the Sunday after that, right? Yeah, it's the Sunday after our
Yep.
yeah, because this is Thursday and then Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is when they have their conference.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Because Xbox has done this hundreds of times, I feel like. What do you think is there? You get a first glimpse at Games Fest and then more of a showcase at Xbox. Because they've done that either reverse ways where we see a game at EA and then we see it at
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, or we see it at Xbox EA. Do you have anything that you kind of have your thumb on as far as, okay, we see a reveal or something for Games Fest and then a few days later they expand upon it?
Yeah, I think a couple of them I could see like an Avowed or a Fable being one of those kinds of
Oh, I
things.
didn't even think about
Um,
Fable actually.
Yeah, I still think that one's pretty far away, but I like
Yeah.
maybe they're ready to start showing it. But I think maybe the what was the other one I was thinking of is like Starfield. I think that's the other thing where obviously that just got delayed, but I
Mhm.
feel like they were ready. Like Xbox was ready to go like all in on their marketing thing for Starfield. I could see that being a thing where they want to show it everywhere, and even though it still got delayed, like they maybe just keep those things in place and still show off the game to the extent they did. And it'll be weird to have this big like 20-minute long like gameplay demo and then like, oh well, we don't actually know when the game's coming out, so stay
Yeah.
tuned at the Xbox show. But I could also see them showing it at specifically the Summer Game Fest. That
Mm.
was maybe the one that stands out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for me it's like an old hat, but I just feel that Gears of War has been pretty quiet. They've not
Mm.
put out, and I just feel like it's kind of inevitable. Maybe they'll try and do something similar to Halo, where they'll try to revitalize it and give it some new modes and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I don't know,
Gears of
but
War 5 came out 3 years ago,
yeah, and they were
2019. So
pretty
it's been
consistent
a
with
bit.
those games, and I don't know how that last one sold. It feels like it's been kind of declining the past few years, but I could see
Hmm.
something like that. You're probably right about Fable, but Fable to me would be another big game ender,
I think they're
smoking
waiting on
gun.
Fable. Like that one, I'd
Yeah,
put lower on my if I had to pick one
yeah.
kind of tier. Like I'd put Avowed higher than that even.
But whenever it's ready, Fable would be a big one. Like whether it's next year, or the year after, like that is a show ending one you could really do. Have a great showcase
Hmm.
and stuff. Yeah, when they say expo, actually, I guess I answered my question because I was gonna say, do they not count Bethesda? But I guess they own Blizzard and they have
Hmm.
like that's a logo in here. So the only Bethesda game I'm still kind of waiting here more on, and I thought it'd be perfect for Summer Games Fest is that Indiana Jones game. All we got was that.
I think that's really far out still.
Yeah,
I mean, it
it
could
got
not be
announced a few
because
years ago. Was it just only last year though? Maybe I don't know. It feels like it just they all they did was like a logo drop and then nothing else. Like,
yeah, I mean the thing is, it's been a few years I think since their last game release. So I guess 2019 was Wolfenstein, and then I guess they released Quake Dimension of the Machine. I don't know what that is, but apparently that came out last year. I didn't hear anyone talk about that, so maybe that was some other weird thing.
apparently the Indiana Jones game was making some headlines this week because it's not Xbox exclusive. So there you go. That's been confirmed.
Interesting. So, that could be one. That could be another one as well.
Yeah, and I just think because they would, I don't know, again, they don't have to do this, but that movie is coming out next July, and it would be mighty fine if you had a game ready and you start pumping that and getting that
Mm-hmm.
ready. I was just trying to find out when the actual reveal of this was. The
Of
actual,
Indiana Jones. I think it
yeah,
was it not just last year at the Summer Game Fest? Or was
that's
it
what I thought. I
before
don't think
that?
it was Summer Games Fest. No, it was just like a I think they just dropped a random, like, oh, here we go. Let's see. Okay, I got the first article. So it was January 2021. So
Okay.
okay, about a year and a half. So yeah, maybe it's not been that long. I just was surprised we got almost nothing. So
Well, I mean, the other thing I think about too is that game is. I don't think he's the director, but Todd Howard is involved in the development of the game, and like
mhm.
Starfield's in its last few months here. Like I just feel like he's probably probably focused on Starfield a lot more than he's over there working on Indiana Jones. So I don't know how much. Like maybe it's just a thing where he's like an executive producer, and they're just like throwing his name on there to get people interested in it. But maybe he's truly not there on the ground level because I mean that is a different studio than the one he works at day to day, right? So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and obviously I was looking at the publishers. Unless they're not in there, it's not happening yet. But whenever it's ready, I think IO Interactive and Keeley with the James Bond game, that's going to be a big reveal at some point too. But I was looking;
Yeah,
they're not
that's
listed
actually
here. But
that's a good reminder because Hitman does have like a new map coming out this summer.
hmm
So like that could be something that I could see at a show like this, but at the same time I don't even know if I would expect that. Like that could be something like a PlayStation show
yeah,
where they have that kind of partnership there in some way. Or I mean Hitman 3 is on Game Pass right now, so that's actually a great time for that to be at the Xbox show. I'm going to put that on my notes for me and Taylor's cast. I
there you
just
go.
thought about
Yeah.
that right now.
Yeah, just because they've been quiet about it, but it's one of those games that I think they've been quiet
I mean,
smartly.
Hitman 3 came out last year, so it's like
Yeah,
it's gonna be a bit before you
yeah,
see gameplay for that one. I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move along here to. I think that maybe this is like a easy one, but I feel like we'll see Saints Row at the kickoff event.
Yeah, I agree.
We know everything about it. We know when it's coming out. We've seen a lot of gameplay. There's been like demos that people in the press have played, so it's coming. I feel like that's a kind of spot where they show up and here's another trailer with some crazy new thing that's
hmm
fun. So I don't know. I think that's maybe an easy one. Uh, what do you think about Call of Duty? Modern Warfare 2, the name, which I absolutely hate, recently was announced or mentioned, or maybe I don't even know what's going on there. I don't really keep too much up with that
hmm
stuff. But like, is that something that shows up at Summer Game Fest, or do you see that being elsewhere?
It's tough because Keeley, I think, is smart. He likes to make these things have something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm a 51, 54, or 51 49 for it showing up, but I still think it might be like I guess Like usually I feel like Call of Duty likes to do their run of advertising a lot closer to the release. But I guess in the past we did see Call of Duty show some stuff at PlayStation here. So, I think we'd see it. I think we'll see something.
Okay. Which, yeah, I mean, are you on the same page as me with the titling of these things? Like, they just keep going. They're going back down the same path they've named these games before. I just hate it. Personally.
Yeah, I don't really understand it, but I guess it's just I put them now other than Warzone. I just put it so much off to the side where it's a money laundering scheme, and they're just putting so much money into it and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for. And even then about that with Modern Warfare 2, I would love it if we even got to see a little bit more of Warzone 2, which is supposedly coming out this year, right? So that's I think that's always on the board as well.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Keeping in the Activision train of thought, and I hadn't actually looked at this partners page until you mentioned it, but it is a good place to look at. So Blizzard is mentioned here alongside Activision. There's a couple games from Blizzard that I think we're kind of waiting on. One being Diablo 4, which we just, as far as I've been able to, like, I haven't looked into it recently, but like I just don't remember that ever being really updated on, like, since it was announced. Like I feel like it's been pretty quiet. And then Overwatch 2, which actually did have like a beta thing, alpha, beta, who knows these days. It had something recently where people could play it for a temporary amount of time. So I could foresee both of these, or at least one of these as well, showing up here. I'm hoping it's Diablo 4. I really want to get an update on, like, just see what the game looks like, what kind of tone, gameplay they're going for, and ideally a release date or release range, like a year. I don't think that's coming out this year, but I think it'd be nice if they could throw a 2023 on there. Not that I would have faith that would stick by any means. Overwatch 2, I care less about. Me and Kirkland did talk about this recently on Sidequest, but I still think this is a place for it to show up, because I think last year is when they showed some Overwatch 2, and it was just like character models, and we were all like, this is stupid. Why are they showing this?
Yeah.
I believe that was at Summer Game Fest, the kickoff show last year when they did that.
It was.
So,
yeah. It's kind of buying in your own
there
hype
is a bit of a partnership there already.
Yeah. No, I think it's honestly very likely we could see both. I think Diablo 4 is the big question mark, but along with GTA, that was a lot of, I saw people being, oh, I think that could be there, that could be there. So has been quiet for a while. Maybe you could just get more teaser type of stuff, just a little bit. Overwatch, I think, like you said, they got that partnership. It could be likely to see more. So I think one for sure, maybe two out of those two you mentioned.
Just keeping going along here. Another game that I don't foresee this. This is kind of a long shot hope for me, would be Skate 4. That was shown off, I think, 2 years ago. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was not shown off. This was one of those stupid Zoom call things where Jeff was talking with one of the developers, and he's like, so you have something to announce for us today, right? Skate 4 is coming back. It was like just such a weird way to do that. I think that is probably because that game was just starting development. Or
I was going to say, then the next day they started to work on it, yeah.
I do think that game probably does have a shorter development time than, the open world action adventure RPG games that we see mostly from AAA. I shouldn't say mostly, but we see from AAA studios. I think that is probably quicker to pump that game out. But I think it might be a bit too soon. But I could see a teaser trailer here. I could see no gameplay, but just a teaser trailer and it says 2023, or I don't know if they would do it if it was 2024. But I could see it showing up, and I'm hoping to. I want to get an update on when we can expect the next Skate game coming out.
Yeah, I think this could be a good place to show it if it's gonna happen. I'm like you, I don't know, because I think we will see a Skate game at one of these shows, not this year. That's my prediction. I think
that is a totally like that is the real prediction. I just that one's like coming from my heart. I want to see that one person.
Yeah, but it fits with the Summer Games Fest vibe and things like that. So I think you will see it in the near future.
Yeah. Maybe we could shout out some indie games here. Planet of Lana is a game that we saw last year at Summer Game Fest. Looked really cool. I think we were all like interested in it, wanted to see more. I kind of foresee that being one where we get a release date here. It comes out later this year. And I think Metal Slug Tactics is in that train of thought too, where we first shot at. I think it is. I like that title.
No, it's it's so good. It's such a good title.
I didn't know
Yeah,
being like
no, it is, because I feel like it's like when you hear that, you're gonna remember that name, or you're just gonna be curious, like, hey, what the
Yeah.
hell is this game? You know?
It's very efficient. It's like here is the franchise and then the genre. Like it just
Yep.
like bundles it into one. But once again, that was shown off for the first time at Summer Game Fest last year. I think they have said it is coming out this year, so that's why I expect it to. And I mean, when we did see it, it had like gameplay and stuff, so
Mm-hmm.
far enough along. I hope that one comes out this year. I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see, TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I think that'll like almost certainly show up here. I think that is coming out this year. That they've already
I think
said.
so,
It might
yeah.
have even been summer. Like I think they might have even said like summer 2022.
Yeah.
So I think that one's almost guaranteed, and that'll be cool if they comes out in 1 month or comes out in August, something like that. That'd
Today.
be cool.
And
Yeah,
they're like,
it
"No,
could be. Honestly, I could see that.
They're like, Jeff, we're not ready to go. Skate 4 is not real. Jeff just like said you're gonna announce Skate 4 just so I have something on my show, and then we'll move on in the
Right.
future. You know?
Just so people tune in the future.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then, maybe the two like big daddies of indie games these days are Hollow Knight Silk Song
Mm-hmm.
and Sports Story, two games that just keep getting delayed. Or I think Sports Story might have had a release window and then it's just delayed indefinitely, essentially. And Hollow Knight Silk Song never had a release date, but it was shown off like years and years ago now. I think those are two big indie games that will get a lot of traction, and I think they're ones that kind of transcend past the indie title a bit, and I could see them being
I think so.
big pops here. And honestly, if they showed off Hollow Knight Silk Song as like the opener of the show, I think that's like fitting. Like that's how big of a deal that is. I feel so. Those ones are hard. They're like the GTAs or the Elder Scrolls of the indie world, where it's like you never know when we know they exist, but like when the fuck are they coming out? Who knows? But at some point, it's like, as an indie studio, you got to release this game at some point.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have this publisher support, I don't know what's going on there. So I think we maybe could see, I think maybe more likely Sports Story, but I'm hoping for both of them. I think that'd be cool if they both came out this year.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's gonna happen here, but Hollow Knight, I even see that come up a bunch on my timeline. So I think that
Yeah, people have been saying that'll probably show up at like a Nintendo Direct as well. There's kind of been a bit of a partnership there, so I could see that being the case. But I think that one's like big enough that it could appear both at Summer Game Fest and Nintendo Direct without either of them being salty that it got shown off first or anything like that.
yeah,
yeah. I had one where an oddball pick, where I just feel like a couple games, at least get people talking, get clicks, get people coming to the show, get people talking. One of them is this game that we all laughed about recently, called I Am Jesus Christ, which is a very just wild looking game. I think this could show up here. I don't even know why I wrote this down, but I just felt like this is my weird off the wall pick. I could just see Keeley wanting to get this one here for some laughs.
I don't think if you had asked me, I'd say no, but it's a 51 no, because I think that it like you said, it creates conversation, it gets people talking. It's when we watched that trailer, just one of the most outrageous things. And I feel like it does not have still enough people knowing what this game is and putting this on a bigger platform like Summer Games Fest. It's kind of memey, but in the best ways. So I want you to be right. I want to see more of I Am Jesus Christ, and I cannot wait to play this game at some point, because it's just looks like just a wild time.
You gotta have some good like lighthearted fun
Yes.
at these shows too, especially if you have a lot of darker stuff. You gotta get something to lighten the mood, and that could be one of them.
100%.
On our list here, I think the only thing we haven't talked about is Avatar. Well, we mentioned it briefly. I don't think I would not expect this to be here. I think it's too soon.
Really?
But I do think this is I think a Keeley event is where we will see this game more.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Do you
I
feel like
forgot.
Avatar is like is it like in the news cycle right now or something? Why do you feel like you maybe are stronger that it would be here?
No, I forgot. I thought this was coming out this year, but I remember that it's a 2023 game. So I just like you. I think Keeley.
I kind of forgot it had a date or a year actually. So
Yeah,
that maybe
I
is
think-
evidence that it could be here.
I could be wrong. I think it's supposed to be like Q1 2023. Now that doesn't mean anything, because the Avatar movie was supposed to come out like 10 years ago or whatever. So, but I think you're right. That assessment of you will see this Avatar game at a Keeley event because I just feel like he likes synergy of big stars and Avatar, huge movie. Sequel could be another huge movie. So you will definitely see this partnership happen. I don't even know here, but maybe just even more teaser. If they want another big trailer, it doesn't hurt to have something else to show. The movie's coming out this year, so they're trying to get that Avatar hype and synergy. So I'll say no. I think the Video Game Awards is more likely in December, but I wouldn't be shocked if I saw Avatar here just because I could see that being a Far Cry 6 where they just showed off a lot again and again and again and
That's
again.
fair.
Yeah.
When we looked at the like partner list of partners, of course, all these things don't mean that it's going to be in the Summer Game Fest kickoff event. Like it just means that
True.
over the course of the summer, you'll see something from these games. So like Psyonix is here, but like I don't know if we'll see Rocket League at this event. You know, like they just have some partnership in some way, which could mean any number of things. But one of them that stands out to me when I'm looking at this list is Riot Games, who obviously do League of Legends, but they've been branching out, making other games with different genres recently. And I feel like it's been like I think we got one of them. I can't remember the name of it, but it came out last year, and I think it was pretty good from what I heard. But I think now's about time where we could see like their fighting game that they're working on. I think they were also working on a competitive shooter. I feel like those could be a big pop. Riot Games like big name, so if you throw that out there and see one of these more AAA sort of looking games from them, I think that could be a big one. And I think it seems about right time. Like I feel like they announced that stuff a while ago now, so now might be the right time. As I look through the rest of the list, I mean, we could speculate on every single publisher, but I don't think we need to go down that road. Is there anything else you wanted to shout out specifically?
No, I'm just interested because you got Netflix. That's probably part of that Geek Week thing. 2K can be a bunch of things between sports games. You could always get something new in the Mafia series. As far as that's one that I could see being worked on and not leaking because it's not like I like the Mafia game series. Still haven't played the third one because it was mixed, but it's still enough that I don't think people are gonna be after to get that scoop. No, I think we hit it all. Prime Gaming, it's probably that game I really want to play, but it's just a PC game. It was like that open world.
Lost World, is it
Yeah,
called?
yeah, that one where it's like, oh, goddamn. But I could see something like that, them sprucing that up. Amazon has the money to spend whatever to get ad space. So, yeah, I think we hit on the major ones as far as just for the kickoff that we could see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many on here on this list. But, I mean, I think I think this will be a great show. And, I mean, those are just things that we kind of know exist or have got rumors of. Whereas I think Keeley always obviously wants some surprises here, some new stuff. And if we even get like half of that list or a quarter of that list that we just talked about and then throw on like those new surprise announcements, like we're in store for a really good show here. And, I mean, 2023 is already looking like ridiculous. So I can't wait to see what other stuff gets added into the mix for that year. And honestly, we're even like stretching things out like to 2024. I feel like there's a lot going on. And I feel like maybe there's a bit of a slump there where we just didn't know about a lot of the games like too far in advance, like from announcements, publishers. But for right now, I feel like we know what so many developers and big teams are working on. And it's just a matter of like, okay, when are we going to see it next? When's the release date? That kind of thing. So it's a very exciting time to kind of feel like the calendar is already filling out next year. And then, we still have many more months of this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, the wall can't wait. All these big things going to stack up. But no, I think even stretching because there's a lot of these games that's something like a Kojima game or games that, like a KOTOR, which could be like 2025 if it was like really early on. Like the next 3 years, I think we just got, and like Spider-Man coming out, you got that Wolverine game coming out. Like there's some really good stuff. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a good show. I think he's nailed. I think we've talked about that the past couple shows. He's nailed down the rhythm, how he wants to do it. So he knows to spend enough time on some things, a little on others. Usually good pacing. So I would hope that this is not a misstep and it kind of goes to some of those earlier video game award shows, but I don't think it will be. And excited for a good show.
Yeah, I mean, every year he gets better at refining the formula of what Summer Game Fest means, what these showcases are. And I think he probably knows now that it's great to have one showcase that, like, if you could only tune in for one thing this year, tune in for that thing. And then obviously Game Awards again at the end of the year. It's nice to have a bit more of that. And, there still will be those random side events where, these live streams where, like, Rocket League shows off all these new cars and whatever it is. But it's nice to at least have one place where we can all meet and be prepared. And me and you, at least me and you, I don't know about the other two, Kirkland and
Not
Taylor
Taylor, because
there.
he'll be at a wedding, so he won't be there.
Right.
But Kirkland, maybe we'll see if we can
Mhm.
snag him for Thursday night breakdown. You know.
Yeah, so I guess just preparing for that. Yeah, we'll be covering Summer Game Fest right then and there on Thursday night. We'll probably just upload that right away, so that'll be up
Yeah,
there
it'll
as soon as
drop.
possible.
It'll drop late Thursday or early Friday, depending on your time zone. So
Mm-hmm. And then same thing for Xbox. We'll be covering that. Do you think are we gonna do a watch along for that one? Were you planning for that?
we could talk
we have in
Taylor
the
and see.
past. We haven't
You
really
haven't
talked about it
passed,
yet.
but yeah, we haven't talked about it yet. So
Mhm.
we could see closer, see how everyone's. The only thing I guess, see how everyone's feeling after Strikers, because
That's true. Yep.
we got like a
A lot of
12 hours.
content that
So
weekend.
I might be leaning towards no,
Yeah.
if, depending on how long Strikers goes, which I think will be all day. But we'll definitely be covering it at least. So
Sounds good.
yeah,
And then Sidequest the day after, focusing on Strikers,
yeah.
and then
Oof.
Nintendo. If I'm presuming correctly that it will be the week after, then that could be a thing too, where we cover that. Don't wait until the next week of Sidequest, kind of
yeah.
cover it that night, sort of thing. So definitely subscribe to those feeds, and we'll have a lot of good stuff coming for you. Travis, thank you for joining me today. This was
No problem.
a lot of fun to do some just deep dive speculation, talking about a lot of games today.
Oh yeah, I always love seeing what's on the horizon, and yeah, I'm very excited just to be back in a couple weeks. The next time I'm on this show, not counting the showcases and whatnot, will be Strikers, and yeah, I'm very excited to talk about that. I think it's gonna be a fun one.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening. We will see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.